How you doing?
Hey, Armando, how you doing?
Good.
Good. I appreciate you taking the time here. It's been so crazy the last 2 years. We haven't really had time to talk to you guys in the way you remember your freshman year when we used to have access to the locker room after road games and the players lounge after home games. We could get a lot more stuff than we do on Zoom. So this is a good opportunity to ask you some questions that maybe we never really get to on Zoom. And the first thing I wanted to ask you about was just your game in general this year. You're posting amazing numbers, obviously, but I'm very curious to know what you think you've improved the most on and what you're most proud of about where your game is right now.
That's a good question. I would just say the small details. I mean, I feel like last year I made huge strides in my game in terms of like finishing and things like that, but this year I've just been really detail oriented and just trying to perfect and make everything as easy as possible on myself.
Give me an example of something that you've clearly seen a change that maybe we don't see, but coach sees it and you see it.
Just like the way I get out of screens and like the way I roll, and then like just sealing. So like I'll set like, you know how we do like let's say for instance, we'll do like the horn set, and then I'll set the screen, and then they'll throw it down to Brady, and then they may swing the ball over to the wing, and then I'll be like right under the basket and get an easy layup. So just my footwork and things like that have made it a lot easier for me to just get easy buckets around the rim. Yeah,
that's what I've seen, and I described it recently when we did a podcast as you economize your footwork a lot more than before. And so instead of taking 5 steps to do something, you take 4. How much work have you put into doing that? And what kind of work do you do in the off season to improve your footwork and economize your movement?
Well, I mean, it's just a combination of just the work I put in over the summer with Big May. I mean, he showed me we watched a lot of film on just last year's stuff and just kind of some of the stuff he did too. And we just kind of put it all in perspective, and then I try to take what I like and then the stuff I don't like, just leave, and I feel like that's been helping me out a lot.
What is your relationship with Sean? Sean, similar build to you when he played, and obviously he had an incredible career at Carolina. And when I used to cover him, and I've been covering Carolina for a long time, I always kind of thought of Sean as a big-time IQ guy. He was a great physical athlete, but is a really smart player. What is the relationship with him, and how has he taught you about being more of an IQ guy on the court as well as a physical specimen on the court?
Yeah, just like I said, we watch so much film, so I could have a game where, let's say, for instance, after the UVA game, we still watched film and just saw what I could take away from that game and do better. Because, I mean, as the game going, I play such high minutes. There's so many missed opportunities. Even though I may be playing great, there's still even more room for improvement and things I can improve on.
One of the things that I've seen, and you can correct me if you think this is wrong, that I've seen in your game is I remember you as a freshman, and you kind of wobble back and forth some, and you had that terrible ankle injury against Ohio State and still managed to play the UVA game a few days later. So I think you showed your toughness early in your career. But there was a lot of maturity that was needed, and I've sensed a lot of that in your game. And sort of you mature in many different ways, not just as a player, but in how you approach the game, how you study the game, how you look at film. How much do you think maturity has played a big part in your growth as a player the last couple of years?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's been huge for me. I mean, I would say my biggest thing my freshman year is just I really thought everything would be easy. So just coming into college, really didn't know what I was getting myself into. And then you factor in just like confidence things as a freshman. You know, you go on the road, play a couple tough games, may have a bad game here and there, and then it just keeps spiraling. And that's one of the biggest things, like I would say I changed last year going on to this year. I just play every day by day, and just if I have a bad game, I don't put too much pressure on myself in terms of like say missing shots and things like that. I try to figure out what it was, and I never just blame myself, if you get what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Do you remember, I know you remember the stretch. It was around the time that you hurt your ankle, and then you guys had the Wofford game. You went out to Gonzaga, and you were struggling there for a while. And I remember we talked to you, it was probably early January. It may have even been after a game. And you said something to the effect that you had voices in your head, like negative voices. And I guess what you were saying is that your confidence You were battling with confidence at the time. How clearly do you remember that? And what advice would you give freshman Armando telling the media that in January 2020, I guess it was, if you had a chance to talk to him now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, like you said, I can remember that stretch because beforehand, I mean, coming off of the Bahamas trip, I mean, I was putting up crazy numbers, and then just to go through that tough stretch of getting injured, and then it was the Watford game where I struggled really badly, and that kind of changed a little bit of the trajectory of what I was doing that season. And just looking back at it now, I mean, I wish I could have told myself, like, hey, like, you don't have a bad game. It's just how you respond.
And you respond to those now, and you have some guys on your team that I would imagine you've been a voice of reason to because you've been through it, because Caleb has gone through some wobbly times as well. Do you find yourself giving the advice to the other guys that you would give to yourself as well if you can go back and talk to yourself 2 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, I mean, you can see it sometimes in the game when guys go through a stretch where they're struggling. You know, you try to tell them just next play, like, you're playing great. You try to feed them with positive feedback just so, you know, they're not telling they're fighting against that voice in their head and just worrying about the next play. And that's just the main thing, just with all basketball players. You got to just worry about the next play, and you can't worry about what you did to play before. So
where do you think your game is right now? You've got a month plus left in your junior year. Are you about where you thought you would be and hoped you would be? And kind of what else is there more for you to improve on here in the closing part of the season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because I thought even last year, I thought like I could have played at this level. Obviously, we had, tremendous bigs. I mean, you look at Walker Kessler, he was the fourth playing big, and he's one of the top players in the country now. So, I mean, I thought that last year, but I mean, we had so many good players, so it was hard. Like, you couldn't play all of us. We couldn't all, you know what I'm saying? You couldn't play all of us at the same time. We couldn't all play 30 minutes. We all couldn't get the ball, like, as much as we do. So, I mean, going into this year, this is about what I expected. I mean, I still feel like I can play even better. Like, I still feel like it's another level I can take it to. But I'll say, I'm not surprised.
When you come up, when someone asks Hubert a question about you, he often will discuss, without even being prompted, your dreams and desires of playing at the next level in the NBA, not so much overseas, but specifically he says NBA. And then he goes into the things that the conversations he's had with you about what you need to do, where your game needs to be, what you need to add to your game in order to play at the NBA. He brings it up a lot, Armando. Is that something that you guys have talked about since the season started, or do you have someone else that you discuss those things with where you sort of evaluate your game, or do you ignore all of that until after the season and then you look back and say, okay, this is where my game is in relationship to those goals?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a conversation me and Coach Davis have all the time. I mean, he's always encouraging me and just telling me things I need to do and just giving me feedback on things I need to get better. And I mean, I feel like he's trying to put all of us in a position to play at the next level and do the things that we wish to do.
Where do you think you are with respect to your readiness for the next level?
I mean, I don't really know. I'm confident in myself, so I mean, I feel like I can play at any level, but I mean, I don't know, honestly.
Well, it's, if we were actually in pre-COVID times, we would be asking you these questions more often, because it is interesting that he brings it up as much as he does. And I am curious to know your full take really on where you think that you stand. So let's say someone says, okay, you're going to be an NBA guy one day, but right now this is where your game is. How much more do you have to add to it to be an NBA guy? What would you say?
I would just say a mixture of just shooting the ball more, probably. Just being more efficient shooting the ball and just being even better defensively.
Do you think if you guys had more of a presence of a big, that your game would slide out away from the basket a little bit more, or you just...
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Just me being the only big guy, and I mean, we got two. We had two, for one now, bigs who play more outside in the paint. I mean, we won't have any post option if I'm just out there outside, so we be playing 5 out. And now, I mean, my strength is scoring around the basket, and that's one of the things that I do, and I'm one of the best at it in the country. So it's kind of just playing to my strengths now. I mean, it was like last year's team, I was planning for a little bit more in this system. I'd definitely be able to do more different things. But just us not having that big presence, I got to, suck it up and just play more to my strengths.
I go down to the court before games, at least the ones where they let me right there in the baseline, sideline. I like to shoot little clips of you guys beforehand and just kind of send them out on Twitter and that kind of thing. And a couple of weeks ago, I was right behind you. You were shooting threes from the right corner. And I don't know how many you shot, at least 15 when I was there, and you made about 10 or 11 of them, and it looked pretty fluid. How comfortable are you out there? And when Coach Davis talks about you taking your game away, he mentions three-pointers that you made during the offseason, but how much of it is the stuff in between the paint and the three-point line where you really need to be very comfortable with in order to more ensure a spot at the next level?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, just being able to knock down shots when open, that's a huge thing. I mean, especially me being a bigger guy, too, it's going to always be opportunities in that. So that's just something I got to improve on and just show more, too, that I'm able to, knock down those open shots. But really, I'm now just in the present moment, I'm just taking what the defense give me. I mean, teams aren't sagging off of me, so it's really like, would I rather force up a three or get to the paint and get a rebound and hit that shot that I know for sure I'm going to make?
Another thing I've noticed is that every once in a while you will say something, because you're asking historical questions because of some of the numbers you're putting up and some of the people whose names you're lumped in with. You appear to have a really strong appreciation for the program's history and the people that have come before you. Sometimes it takes guys a couple years when they're in a program to really get that. And it seems to me like you fully embrace the idea of being a guy setting records at North Carolina, maybe as opposed to guys setting records at other schools because of the program's tradition. How important is it to you personally to have your name lumped in with the Hansbroughs and the Mays and the Jamesons and those guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to think because, I mean, I'm a basketball junkie just like all of you are, and it's just being put in those conversations is just something you never would really imagine, just growing up playing basketball. Like, you would have told me this 10 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. So just being able to, I mean, there's so many great players that's played here. I mean, there's so many bigs that were successful here. So, I mean, it's really crazy to put in perspective that I'm playing just as good or even better as some of them. And, I mean, it's kind of unbelievable, but I'm just thankful for the opportunity and for Coach Williams and Coach Davis to put me in these situations.
Do you ever look up at the rafters and see all those jerseys up there and think about those guys and about the possibility that you never know, maybe one day your name could be up there?
100%. I mean, even after this year, I mean, I know it'll be tough. Like, I mean, I know I'm in the running, but I mean, ACC Player of the Year, that's something that I'm definitely going for. And I mean, I feel like I'm the best player in the ACC. I feel like I'm the most dominant, and I feel like teams have to prepare for me more than any other player in the conference. I mean, I feel like that's kind of, adds to my ACC Player of the Year case. But, I mean, I know that would put me in that rafter, so that's something that I definitely want.
What else is there for you to accomplish at Carolina? Is that it? And I guess where I'm heading is you're going to have a decision to make here in the next couple of months. And most guys say that they're not going to think about it till after the season. I don't know if you have or not. You can tell me if you have. But what I think part of that process for you would be what else you think you can accomplish and want to accomplish at UNC before you move on to your next journey.
Yeah, I mean, I want to put a team banner somewhere up there, like in one of those categories. I just want to be a part of some type of team history in North Carolina. If that's winning the ACC regular championship, regular season championship, ACC tournament, national championship, just something.
And how much will that be a factor in whatever decisions you end up making?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll definitely play a huge role because, I mean, winning is something I've done at every level, and I haven't done it at this level yet. So that's something I definitely want to be able to, be able to check off my checklist.
And the last part of that is if you were to give an evaluation of Armando Bacot, pro prospect, what would be the first thing you say he needs to improve in order to enhance his chances at making a roster and sticking?
That's a good question.
Personal scouting report, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's just say shooting the ball more from outside.
Mm-hmm.
Just being more of a threat, just showing I can shoot it more.
You guys have 6 games left to go back on the team in the season. I think I got about a minute left here. It's kind of weird to think that North Carolina is 18-7 and is considered on the fence because you guys don't have that marquee win yet. You've got a big game. You've got a game tomorrow night, and you got a big game coming up this weekend. Do you guys ever talk at all about what needs to be done, and or is this just something that everybody knows? You just plow forward in the grind of the season, and however things end up, they end up? Or is this an actual discussion that you have maybe with some of the older guys, like with Leakey, about what's needed to be done?
Yeah, well, I mean, towards the middle of the season, I would definitely say we would, pinpoint stuff and look ahead. But, I would say ever since we lost to Notre Dame, I mean, us and the guys, we just said, we got to just stop looking ahead and just do everything day by day, because I feel like that kind of would led us to, taking that tough LA, because our head just wasn't all the way. We wasn't focused on that game. We was kind of looking ahead and kind of underestimated them.
How much do you think you guys have improved in being ready no matter who the opponent is each time you step on the court? Kind of elevating the readiness regardless of the opponent.
Yeah, I mean, we've improved. I mean, it's just been tough losing, Ant Harris, who was emerging as a big-time player for us, and somebody, that we was expecting to play 20 minutes for us. And also, losing Dawson Garcia was huge, too. So we still just kind of finding ourselves, because, if you look at how Dawson played against Purdue, and, the tough stretch he went through was just more just a mental thing for him and not really an on-the-court thing. So, you factor in losing those two guys. I'm happy where we're at right now, man. We're just trying to get hot at the right time.
My time's up here in a second. Last question to follow up on that real quickly. Do you think you guys have fully adjusted now? It appears to me that you fully adjusted. This is who you are, and you guys are moving forward with who you are.
Yeah, I would say the first 5, but now we're just trying to figure out who's those next guys, to step up in place of those 2 guys missing. That's just something that we're still trying to figure out, what combination or rotation is the best one.
Okay, awesome. Hey, I really appreciate this. I'm sorry we don't get a chance to talk like we did in the olden days, but maybe those days will return sometime soon. Look forward to it. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, and good luck.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks.